second segment of Armour Up, Women of Courage. We're going to dive in today, beginning with Jochebed, the mother of Moses. My name is Erica. I am your lovely, lovely host. And I want you to remember that if you would like a workbook to go along with this study, you can order it from Amazon.com. The link is in the description below. So, let's get started. So, when we open up the book of Exodus, it begins off as it talks about the death of Joseph. And then you have the rise of this new Pharaoh who has no idea who this Joseph is. I know of no Joseph. He does not know Joseph. But what his problem is that this Pharaoh is filled with fear. Because these descendants of Joseph and his family, the Israelites, they are great in numbers and they're mighty men. And so fear, as we know, causes us to do things that we really shouldn't do. For an example, we have in the book of 1 Samuel, you've got Saul, who is consumed by fear of the people or whatever, that it caused him to sin against God. Then if you look in the New Testament at Herod, you see him being consumed by fear that someone is going to usurp his throne and all this madness. And then that fear caused him to what? It caused him to declare the murder of all these babies. So here in Exodus, we see a Pharaoh who is being consumed by fear, and therefore he is acting out in his fear in a very destructive manner. So this Pharaoh, who has now enslaved the Israelites, is now calling for the murder of these baby boys when they're born. And so you see these two midwives that he encounters who are like, no, not doing that. And so when he talks to them and he asks them, hey, why aren't you doing what I told you to do? Their basic response is like, you know what? These Hebrew women, they give birth so fast that by the time we get there, it's too late anyway. And so yes, they lied. But we have to understand that their lie was in order to preserve the lives of many babies. And the Lord blessed them because they didn't fear Pharaoh. They were fearing God. And the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom, right? Right. So Pharaoh's plan is not working. So he comes up with another one. And this one is, we're going to take all the boys that are born to the Hebrew women and throw them in the Nile. Only the boys, not the girls, because apparently girls are not a threat. Oh, the irony, right? Right. The Bible tells us that Amram married his aunt, whose name was Jochebed, which is weird, but okay. So that's what he did. She bore him a son, and she hid him for 3 months. Can you imagine how Jochebed could possibly be feeling? She just gave birth to a child, which is an overwhelmingly amount of joy. And then on top of it, it's a boy. This young boy has been born with a death sentence hanging over him. Because after all, the young Hebrew boys are supposed to be thrown into the Nile. When she couldn't hide this baby anymore, she decided upon this little plan. So she makes him a little ark. I bet it was cute too. But anyway, she makes him a little ark. She places the baby in it, and she puts him amongst the reeds and that kind of stuff on the Nile. The Nile, which was a main source for water and for life in Egypt, was being utilized by Pharaoh for death and destruction of young boys. But this young woman, Jochebed, whom Pharaoh sees as no threat, is now utilizing that same Nile in order to save a life. We see Pharaoh's daughter comes out, and she's with her maidens, and they're out there, and What do you think is going to happen when the ark shows up and they look inside and there's this beautiful 3-month-old baby? Oh, look at the baby. Oh, he's so cute. Then you have Miriam who comes over and she's like, hey, you want me to go get one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you? And the Pharaoh's daughter is like, yes, go ahead. So who does Miriam go get? She goes gets her mother, aka Moses' mom. And then what happens is we've got the Pharaoh's daughter who's now going to pay Moses' mother to nurse her own child. Brilliant. Brilliant. Pharaoh's daughter decides to name this baby Moses. Why? Because she drew him out of the water. So once Jochebed weans this baby, she has to take the baby back to the Pharaoh's daughter. And this too is also a bittersweet type of thing because she saved her child's life, but now she has to watch as someone else raises her child. What are the odds, right? Because you have Jochebed who has this beautiful baby that she has risked her life in order to save and deliver him from the death that Pharaoh has proclaimed over all these male children. And this baby would grow up to be a deliverer for all of Israel. But that's how God used him. And it's fascinating because what are the odds that all her children, all 3, you've got Moses, you've got Aaron, and you have Miriam. But it's amazing to see how God utilized all of them because Aaron would be the very first high priest, Moses would be the deliverer, and then Miriam would become a prophetess. Wow. When we look at the 2 midwives, we see 2 women who feared God and not man. When we look at Jochebed, we see a woman who feared God and not man. As we look through when you look at Daniel and Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, you see men who feared God and not man. And that is the life that we're supposed to live, right? The fear of God. But unfortunately, as we look around, we see our own brothers and sisters in Christ and the church as they start allowing the world to come more and more into their everyday activities, into our worship services and everything. Because why? The people of God are fearing man, and there is very little to no reverence or fear of God. That, my friends, is a dangerous, dangerous place to be. It's just danger. We can also learn about stewardship or about proper stewardship because we have to understand that nothing that we have is actually ours. We have everything on a loan, right? So your body is not yours. It's just being loaned to you. Your mom, your dad, your children, your family, your friends, all of those are being loaned to you because you can't keep any of it. Your car, your house, your money, everything, you name it, is being loaned to you. And so because it's being loaned to you and it's not something you can keep, you are required to be a good steward over it. Jochebed was showing good stewardship over this baby that she had. And while the world around her was telling her, hey, you need to kill that baby by throwing that baby in the Nile, no. Why? Because God gave her that baby and he is expecting her to be a good steward over that child. I want you to imagine like buying yourself a cute outfit. Like us girls, we know about that, right? You know what I'm saying? Let's say you buy something cute and your friend wants to borrow whatever it is that you have. And you know what? You're like, yeah, girl, you can borrow it. But let me tell you something. Something is going to go down if your friend brings back that really cute outfit that you paid some good money for. She brings it back and she ain't took care of it. She got your outfit laying on the floor somewhere or sitting underneath the bed. You'd be like, no you didn't. Why? Because that outfit has value to you. Well, I want you to know that God's people, every person that he places into your life, those people have high value to him. Even those who don't know him have high value to him. Because after all, Jesus Christ came down here and died for all of humanity, not just you. So when he loans you people, in whatever form they are, be a good steward over all of them. Love your parents, love your spouse, love your children, love your neighbor, love your enemy. Love them all. Why? Because they belong to God. Be a good steward over everybody. Amen. Jochebed preserved the life of her child, but how easy do you think it was for her to let go and let him live in the Pharaoh's house? This is where, we hear that concept, let go and let God, which sounds very cliche, but it's so very true. Jochebed let go of her son and let God be in control over the destiny of that child. I'm going to give you an example. I have 2 boys, right? And my oldest one, when he was 15, he left to go to California to visit his father for the summer. And my son made the decision that he would stay in California with his dad. And I fought very, very hard to get my child to come back home to live with me, because after all, I had been a single parent. I've had him all this time, blah, 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 blah. And so what I ended up having to do after a lengthy battle of trying to get my son to come back home, the truth was he was 15 years old. He was old enough to make the decision himself. So I let go. And I let him stay out there. Really didn't have much of a choice. I let him stay out there, and I let go of him. And then I had to let God take care of him. And I had to entrust my son's destiny into the hands of God. That was what I had to do. That was an excruciating, painful realization that I had to come to, because no mother wants to let go of her child, even when they're 18 and they're moving out, because I always said, no, live with me forever. Not gonna happen. And also in letting my son go and trusting God with him was also how I was being a good steward over what God had loaned me. Because at the end of the day, he is not mine. He does not belong to his father. He belongs to the Lord. And he has greater value to God than he will ever have to me. And that, my friends, is an eternal truth. Thank you so much for joining me once again for Armour Up. I had a good time. I hope that you did as well. By all means, please stop by and see us on Facebook and like us. I hope to see you next week when we go into a study about Jochabed. So, until next time.
Yahweh created the heavens and earth. We're finished. Created Adam, both men and women in his image. Our privilege. No Yahweh, trust and obey. The limit. Grab the enemy, fellowship, paradise, diminish. Darkness, evil, spiritual warfare. We're not casualties of principalities of the air. We are not defenses of the enemy devices. We are victorious. We're warriors. We suit up in that armor.